Hey, welcome to this episode of Grow with Glow. What I'm going to be doing on these podcasts is introducing you to some information, materials, and people that I think could dramatically change your world. Quick little prelude into this, and we'll jump in specifically to Mindy's content. But I want to let you know kind of what's coming and how we're going to do this in a free format. The idea is I've worked as a practicing chiropractor for over 25 years. I've got a number of professional athletes, not just in one sport, but in many sports. And in those 25 years, I've also got a number of Olympic athletes. And while as a standalone, that is something I understand is important to people that play sports, maybe more important to everyone is how these athletes maximize their function, how they perform at a high level consistently, how they can take things like pressure, harness that energy, and refocus themselves to actually work at a higher level. You see, what I'm referencing is some of the athletes I've gotten a chance to take care of in the last 25 years are not just pro athletes in the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, and other sporting leagues. They're actually world champions. I've got Super Bowl champs. I've got gold medalists in the summer games, gold medalists in the winter games. We've got people that have won the Stanley Cup. And for many years, I've contemplated this idea of putting together a show like this, a show where I can just share information at no cost to the listeners that requires them to want to engage in the material to better themselves, improve the health of their bodies, and also start raising their children in an environment that is more natural, closer to what our body requires, and what I'm going to call innate hygiene. What that means is we put in the correct ingredients, nutrition to our body so our body can absorb it, maximize, and function the best. I'm going to talk about things that get in the way of your body functioning well and removing those things. However, it's not just diet. It certainly will be the mental health as well. I want to introduce you some concepts and some things that will be stress reducers, because ultimately what that does is it affects the cortisol levels, which is a very destructive hormone in the body that we tend to have too much of these days with the overstimulation of computer screens, phones, constantly being on call, text messages, voice messages, emails, multiple email accounts. We are always going all the time, so we're constantly in this stress state, and that would affect your mental health. But also, I want to apply what these champions, world champions at the highest level, some of them the GOAT in their sport, the greatest of all time in their sport, what they do that you can do, what they've done that you can do. And I know success leaves clues. So if we can start to share some of these secrets, and I want to make them less secretive, I want to demystify it. But also I've got some great resources in the people I know, authors who've written some tremendous books. I've got athletes that are still in the game, people that will share with you things that you can implement right away through this series. Now, having just listened to Mindy, you've got a good sense of my format and style. I want this to be serious. I think the information serious. But one of the catalysts that really kind of prompted me to do that this year, to start this in 2024, was having put the lockdowns behind us. Because I think a lot of secrets were revealed in 2021 and 2022 that quite often people didn't realize on the surface. If their philosophy had been better towards their body, if their philosophy had been better towards health, then they wouldn't have been so susceptible to the lockdowns and some of the things that occurred. And all I mean is honoring your body's wisdom, maximizing your body's design, and improving your approach to your health. This is not just a health show. Most of the people I speak to and I share with, though, are entrepreneurs, or they're at least leaders and managers where they're responsible for taking care of other people. And that would certainly include the most important job in the world, which is being a mother, because you're raising the next generation. And I really think we've got to get some stuff right. One of the things Mindy said that I wholeheartedly agree with, and sometimes I have a hard time keeping it down, which is we should be angry. When she said that, I have to be honest, I really felt a sense of relief. We should be angry. We've been lied to from government agencies. We've been promoted to by food sources that would benefit if we take more of their product, even knowing that they were unhealthy. How people pick their favorite cigarette in the 60s and 70s is whichever one the doctors recommended, because even the medical doctors have been bought and paid for in the past. So I wanted to create an avenue of true health where it was natural. This idea of fasting is really a doing without as opposed to adding another thing in. And while I love New Year's resolutions, too many times people keep adding things to their plate, and each year they add more and more and more, and they never take things away. They never reduce. They never downsize. Sometimes it's not just addition by subtraction. Sometimes it's multiplication by subtracting. You can multiply the benefits in your life. You can multiply your energy and your results if we take some things away. And what's really cool about this initial kickoff interview was we are definitely taking away food for just a period of time. And one of the first things Mindy said that I wholeheartedly agree with, and also emphatically want to kind of double click and emphasize here, is that your body is very much like a hybrid car. In that if we fast, we can kick it into that fat burning state. We can kick it into that keto state where all of a sudden your body's burning fat. And I'll tell you, there's a double benefit here. Number one, if you are working out more and eating less, that's the secret for weight loss. However, the weight loss industry has been a multi-billion-dollar industry for decades. So we don't need the recipe, move more, eat less. We actually need the context to be right. And sometimes the context is simply knowing that your body is very much like a hybrid car. We can switch it from gas to electric and get into that fat burning state, that keto state. And if you're continuing to drink water throughout the day, that will benefit you. Now, a couple words of caution in how I'm going to teach these podcasts and share and disseminate this information. Number one, I want you to know I'm going to start basic by design. I'm going to include vocabulary. If there's ever acronyms, I don't explain what the acronyms mean. I mentioned in the podcast with Mindy the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet. It's sad, but if there's ever acronyms or letters you don't know what they mean, I want to explain what that is. I want to have a conversation where everybody's included and it's inclusive. And as I jump from resource to resource, or said differently, as I move from person to person that I want to share with you, resources and connections I've had for years, patients, elite athletes, authors, speakers, rock and roll musicians, what I want to do is share with you their inside scoop. And in doing that, I really approach this with a no-holds-barred mentality. Share with you the resources, where they get it from. If I like a food product or website, I'm just going to tell you. But what's real simple about Mindy and the work she does is it's really about pulling things out of the equation. Now, what I love most about that was maybe during 2021 and 2022, when people were living in fear. We weren't doing our normal routines. Many of you were working from home. You were in a virtual workspace. What was interesting was the actual virus we were running from and hiding from needs sugar. It needs an energy source. And very profound in the first 5 minutes of that interview, she mentioned if we were to just fast, we would have starved out the virus. It could have put an end to all of that in a much quicker way. Now, I've got my personal thoughts on why that didn't happen and why certain remedies were outlawed, illegal, and hard to find, but I won't go down that bunny hole. I'll keep this apolitical, but I think we all know at this point that a number of the scientific research and studies have been didacted. The authors had a vested interest. There was some skewed data, to say the least, and I'll leave it at that. More of a reason to do this podcast, in my opinion, more of a reason to do this with motivation, to help you really decipher what's the truth, what's best for you. And oftentimes, simple is the answer. Simplistic ways to stay healthy doesn't mean it's unintelligent. It just means it's an easier way to do it. And if you were ever sick, feed a cold, starve a fever was a common thing when I was a child. You feed a cold, could be chicken noodle soup, bone broth, and you starve a fever kind of plays into this. You see, some of the old wives' tales and some of the old things from the old world are often still remedies today. Like breaking a fever is a good thing. Sweating it out. It's a natural immune response. When your body pitches a fever, don't take Tylenol to bring the fever down. Let the fever run. But commonly today, we're told to bring these things down, to medicate, control symptoms. And really, it's just an expression of the body. It's just an expression of what should be done. One of the things that Mindy also said was she wanted to test her own principles. I love people that walk their talk. And maybe that's why I've been able to work with many athletes in many pro sports, not just one sport, not just one team. I'm not the team chiropractor for any one team, because there are principles that I think are universal in healthcare. And when Mindy said that, I knew I had a friend for life, because many times we have to walk our talk and live the principles we preach and we talk about. And when she said, I got COVID and I needed to fast, what's really cool is she was able to do that. And what she noticed was what the studies validated from places like MIT, which is there is an immune response in the positive direction. So trusting your body, not making your body energy sources work harder to break down and digest food, but preserving your energy resources and redirecting them for an immune response. Because that's what's really important about this conversation too, is that it requires energy for your body to digest, which oftentimes if you have a big lunch, that's why you take a siesta. Right? The energy level to digest and the blood supply is going to slow you down. And again, I'm going to start really basic on some of these topics. We're going to build steam. And at the end, I'm probably going to finish with a few points you either haven't heard, wish you knew sooner, or needed that refocus point to get you back on track with better health. And also, it's going to help you in your business. Because a lot of what I want to do with health is tie this into a parallel track of how it can help you as a leader, and how you can exemplify how you feel is often how you act. In other words, if you feel good and you're confident, you'll act accordingly. Making decisions is no problem. If you've ever been tired, fatigued, run down, or fallen ill, then the idea of making decisions, of getting together the energy for a big project, you're just not up for it. So understand, you feel the way you act. You should not act the way you feel. And I often share this with the athletes going into the arena. If you're not feeling great, you're not at 100%, start to act like you are. You can actually fool your body for periods of time. Not long term, but short periods of time. You can get your energy up. You can change your physiology by the things you're doing. Now, a couple key points I want to also come back to was the fact that IBS and Crohn's disease, Mindy does have a protocol in the back of her book. Look, the small investments I'm going to suggest are well worth it. I think her book is $25 at the time of this recording. And one of the things she talks about is after 17 hours or so is really when you get the maximum boost from stem cells in your body, very healing mechanisms in the body. And what your body does very intelligently is geographical relocation. The geographical relocation means that the stem cells go to the area of the body that needs help. She goes on to tell the story of her Achilles. We talked a lot about leaky gut, maybe people with thyroid issues. The point is there's a multitude of benefits. We just need to get some of the blockers out of the way so your body can blossom. And quite simply, this idea that you don't need a shaker bottle, you don't need a special powder, and most of all, you don't need to be part of a multi-level marketing scheme to buy these products. Now, I'm not against multi-level marketing, but people who sell through those, let's be honest, a lot of times you run it through a filter of what's this? How good's the product? And there are good products. But the context and the vehicle by which they're distributed definitely makes people skeptical. And I want to be clear, you should be skeptical. You should ask better questions. You shouldn't follow these things blindly. What just came out in the news this week is that this whole idea of 6 feet of separation was not based on science. It was not founded on the literature. And I knew at the time because I looked it up in the British Medical Journal what was available. And none of it made sense. So I want to share with you some things maybe you're not reading. I'm going to introduce you to people I know not everyone listening has a chance to meet. The position I'm in, where I'm a practicing chiropractor, taking care of athletes, I'm also a consultant, a business consultant. So I want to talk about entrepreneurship, leadership. We will talk about things like profitability. I'm a big fan of profits for a business because if you're not turning a profit, then you're a non-profit. You're no longer a business. More importantly, you're no longer in business. So I do want to talk about this because anybody who has an issue talking about money, especially if you own a business, just hasn't given enough money away. So we will talk about some charities, some goodwill things we can do in the world. And again, I want to share with you people that are doing amazing things, not for comparison, but for inspiration. Inspiration for you so you can operate at a higher level. If you're clear on your vision, you will get there. but you cannot hit a fuzzy target. So I've always shared this concept in my consulting business where I'm leading natural health doctors towards better health and better profitability while they're helping a multitude of patients and helping more people. And that is, it's not the view, it is the vision. Meaning, it's not what you see right now, it's what you want to see. This is in your life, this is for your children, this could be in healthcare, this could even be in the schools. Be the change that you seek. And I want to arm you with the information, the data points, and some of the things that just aren't being talked about enough. Some of the things we know we were lied to in the last couple of years. I want to bring the truth to the surface and hopefully interview the people that are spot on with all of this, okay? In doing so, you've got to be familiar with how your body works, okay? The gut terrain really gets improved at about 24 hours. To do a 24-hour fast means we eat dinner tonight and you don't eat again until tomorrow night. It's not that hard. I'm a big fan of just not eating on Mondays. So I'll eat a family dinner on Sunday night. We sit around the table with the kids. My wife's brilliant when it comes to highlighting person of the week. And oh yeah, I'm going to share a little what I call 360 success tips. Not just success in your business, not just for yourself, but success in all areas, which means raising healthier children, being successful at home and in your relationships. I'm going to interview a good friend of mine, Dr. John Gray, PhD psychologist who wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We're going to give you some relationship advice that I wish more people knew. We're going to talk about things that people sometimes are embarrassed to ask, but I know in one-on-one consultations as a doctor, they bring it up then. So I know there's a theme. I know where things are trending in healthcare. I know it's spoken about in the media, and I know it's spoken about in the four walls of my practice that isn't getting out there. I can share with you the trends and also the lies that are going on in healthcare. I don't believe in pharmaceutical products as a first line of defense. I just don't. I think your body's clever. I think your body's really intelligent. And yet we're being told to dumb it down on a regular basis. And some of the stuff you put in your body, you are dumbing it down. And the chemicals that we spray on the foods and the labeling and the packaging. And certainly here in the U.S., it's by design. So don't feel inferior. Don't feel unintelligent. Stick with us through this podcast. I'm going to inform you on the truth because they're lying to you on purpose. The system benefits when you're sick. The profits go towards a solution, which means they need a problem. And I'm wholeheartedly believing that was the design for the last couple of years. You see a lot of pharmaceutical companies, really, they want clients. They don't want cures. And again, this may not win me some friends, and that's okay. I'm here to share things in a fun format, which if you couldn't tell with Mindy, we were having fun. She's cool. And even off camera, she's just cool. But I also want to share with you some things that I know can help you immediately in a mindset. So this idea that T cells calm things down in the body, anything dis in the body is bad, and a dysbiosis is a lack of harmony, a unsettled digestive system. It's an unbalanced human being. We're not in homeostasis. We're actually in crisis mode. And so the more you understand some of those things, then hopefully the more appealing to do this 24-hour fast is. I stop eating Sunday night right after our family dinner, where my wife will usually point out a person of the week. So we go around the table with our kids. Each person shares person of the week. My daughters will compliment each other. The boys will compliment their mother. Whatever it is for the week, whoever did something really outstanding for that person, they get acknowledged. They get a spotlight put on them. And we really kind of create some core family values, and then we reinforce those family values at least every Sunday night. Then I don't eat at all on Monday. And the first meal I'll have will be Tuesday morning. So that technically would be a 36-hour fast. Once I listened to Mindy and understanding how the body gets calmed down, what the T cells do, the increase in the stem cells, the anti-inflammatory effect fasting has. Look, I really want you to get her book, not because I'm trying to drive book sales, but because it's a manual and you can highlight it and tab it. And yes, I'm familiar with Kindle, but I just like paper books. I like writing notes to myself, reminders to myself. And I'm aware that can happen there, but I'm just old school in the sense I love to touch the pages. I can pick up a book I've read any point in the future, and I can reread 2 or 3 pages at random, and bam, it's like the information comes right back. Welcome to Grow with Glow, the show where we explore ways to stay healthy naturally and grow your influence. Today's episode is brought to you by Element, the clean salt electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. There's no sugar, just the essentials for optimal hydration. Whether you're an athlete, busy professional, or just someone who wants to stay hydrated, Element is designed for you. So what sets Element apart? Well, it's the science-backed formulation. You see, Element is created by experts who understand the importance of electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium in maintaining proper hydration and supporting overall health. These electrolytes are crucial for muscle function, energy, and anything that makes Element stand out is its commitment to real, clean ingredients. You won't find any artificial sweeteners or flavors in here. Element is keto-friendly, paleo-friendly, and suitable for a variety of dietary preferences. And here's the best part. For our listeners, Element has a special offer. Your first purchase through the website and the link below in the show notes will get you an offer where a complimentary package is sent with the purchase of your first item. So again, use the link in the show notes, and when you make a purchase, you will get a complimentary pack at no extra fee. You're going to enjoy it, and again, it's paleo and keto friendly, keeping you hydrated. Now, one of the things I do Tuesday mornings is I break my fast. But that shouldn't be a shocking term because that's called breakfast. And if you break that word down, break fast, that's what you're doing. You're breaking the fast. So if you can get yourself to 24 hours, dinner to dinner the next night, that has a huge positive impact on your body. What I've noticed is if I can go 36 hours, my mental clarity is through the roof. I mean, I'm funnier, I'm smarter, sexy, and I know it. Like the whole gamut is really just explosive. And what's cool about this is it's a non-activity. I keep saying that, but it's like a stop doing thing. It's not like I have to add one more thing. It's not like I have to go back to the gym for 90 minutes. It's just to give your digestive system a break, right? And when you do that, the regenerative powers that come around are huge. So if you've never done a fast, you can do it. Just imagine you're stranded on a deserted island. You'll have a little brain fog. Maybe at lunch, you'll get a little hungry in the afternoon, but most people, we can go without a day of food. And if you notice what it does to your brain, it shouldn't surprise you because kind of the higher level of the information, I'll have a number of doctors listening, healthcare practitioners. You would remember and be best to recall that the brain to gut is one of the first connections in embryology. It's primal. The brain to gut connection is massive. And I teach communication strategies for business owners. Communication is something I have a ton of fun to do, which is influence. And I can even listen to people and understand where they make decisions from. Now, it could be a cognitive person making decisions from the brain, or they could also say things like, I just knew in my gut this was the thing to do. And if you look at the neurology of the human body, certainly the brain is the master controller, but there's also a plexus of nerves in the gut. And many people will tell you, myself included, you can absolutely be thinking from the gut. You could be making gut decisions because there is almost another brain in the gut. But there's a third brain in the body as well. And I'm going to tell you that brain is in the heart. There's also a plexus of nerves in the heart. And people say, I knew in my heart this was the right thing to do. It just fills my heart when we do these activities. Oftentimes I'll have a vocabulary around the centers by which they make decisions. Head, heart, or gut. And if you look at the plexus and the neurons in the body, every system, organ, cell is run through your nervous system. We are beings of light that live our life through the nervous system. Then this shouldn't surprise you. Now, how does all this, which maybe seems a bit esoteric, come into play? Well, number one, you can use that in your business. You can even use that in sales. Listening to how people make decisions, you should communicate back in those same terms. That's an advanced strategy, and I wish more people understood it. However, as a doctor, you also have to understand how to connect with patients because trust is the currency of the future. If they don't trust you, they won't follow your recommendations. So you have to get on their level. You have to drop the ego. I had a chance to sit down and have multiple interviews, but not the foresight to do a podcast, but multiple interviews with Wayne Dyer before he passed. Wayne Dyer had an acronym for EGO, EGO. He said the ego stands for edging God out. And when we're coming from a place of ego, we're not connected to source. We're not working for the higher power of humanity and compassion. We're working for ourselves, and that's always a short-term plan. But if we can get rid of the ego and listen to how people communicate, we can connect with them. We can build trust. When we have trust, you have the currency of the future, which means you can then guide people towards better health, better financial decisions, whatever business you're in, whatever the model or mantra is. But understand that when you break the fast, that's ultimately where your body's going to go back into that other hybrid system, and it's going to switch from that keto or that fat burning back into, most of the time, a glycogenic model, right? So one of the things Mindy mentioned was oxalates and lectins. These are toxic plants, and I mentioned nightshades. The theory on this is that eating certain plants or stems or leaves is a defense mechanism by the plant, that it would create an inflammatory process, would create sickness. This might be a bit of a harsh example, but certain animals that have venom, if it were to bite a human, wouldn't kill you. Now, if it bit a cat, a smaller animal, it could be toxic and result in death because they're smaller. But your body mass and size and the amount of neurotoxin that goes in, it would be uncomfortable. You'd have swelling. It would be miserable for a few hours a day, but your body could handle it. It wouldn't kill you, basically. Now, as we get into these topics, this is a theory that is becoming more and more prevalent, and the research is beginning to back it up, which is there are plants that have these toxins that create an inflammatory process. Some of the theories are that these plants have a toxic reaction in your body to basically preserve themselves, but to prevent you from eating more of them, which means certain people should really be looking at a paleo diet, a keto diet. Topics we'll cover at a future date, things that Mindy definitely jumps into in her book. But I want you to look at that. And again, this idea that I stop eating Sunday night, don't eat it on Mondays, and then I'll eat on Tuesdays for my breakfast. Literally what that is break fast. So we stop fasting when we eat that meal in the morning. You're already fasting through the night. The first thing you should put in your body when you wake up, in my humble opinion, is water. And some of the water when you're fasting, I believe you should have some salts. One of the products I really like is Element. Element has natural salts that your body needs, and oftentimes will create a better response through your fast. Keep the brain clarity through the fast. Look, anything in the body can create too much or too little, can create death, and that includes water. There's stories of marathon runners overhydrating without the salts in their water, just plain water, and they drink gallons and gallons like the night before a run. And unfortunately, it dilutes the cells and it creates death. So anything of too much or too little in the body could be very hazardous to your health. So if you're going to do this, one of the things Mindy promotes and I promote as well, and they sponsor us on the show, is Element. Check out the salts. They're phenomenal for you. But also getting back to this idea that we should be angry. We should be angry that they're spraying chemicals onto our foods, that they're lying about the ingredients in what we eat, that they have packaging details like 40% less sugar. Well, that's 40% less sugar compared to their other version of the product. So it isn't 40% less. It's 40% less than a truckload of sugar that you never needed in the first place. This idea that diet soda is better. Are you kidding me? Do you know what's in aspartame? Have you seen what that does in the science and the research? And if you haven't, allow me on this podcast to review some research that I think is important. Now, again, you might find some of these studies a bit dry in the beginning, but I'll give it some life, and then I'll give examples. And so you can not only just retain the information, but it will guide you at the grocery store. It'll help you in your workouts at the gym. It will gear you towards better decisions in your life. So this is really going to be about making better decisions, having a better philosophy, which is very much what I heard from Mindy as we go through this. And this philosophy that we have what I call innate hygiene. You see, as a practicing chiropractor, part of our heritage is talking about chiropractic hygiene, which means if we eat foods in alignment with our own innate intelligence, your body's just going to work better. All the preservatives, all the chemicals, all the polysorbate, yellow, number 54, that isn't good for you. You've got to know that. Like all the chemicals that are out there and things like Roundup, where they've hidden the science and the research, and they knew they were hurting people and killing people, and there was deformities in children. It's appalling some of the corporate greed. So I'm just going to get to the crux of this. I'll be pointing to science articles. I'll be showing you headlines. I'll be finding things that are buried in the back of journals that they probably didn't want you to see in the first place, but they've been didacted. The authors have retracted many of the studies, more so in the last 2 years of 2021 and 2022 than ever before. Authors, I'm going to say differently, hired guns who were paid by pharmaceutical companies have now retracted so many of their scientific studies that at the time were the guiding light. The truth is they were bought and paid for. Don't follow the science, follow the money. But I'll show you the money, I'll show you the science, and I'm going to let you decide how to be the best entrepreneur, the best leader, and also have the best natural health care for yourself. Look, if you enjoy Mindy's excitement, we're going to be posting and dropping some bonus materials. My Instagram, I'm going to be doing some 90-second clips that I think are just phenomenal. It's Dr. Glow DC on Instagram. I just got started on TikTok, much to the chagrin of my children, also Dr. Glow DC. But I'll be posting some information on channels and mediums where I can say the truth. I won't be censored, and I can put some things out there that I know is going to help you out. Now, how much or how little you want to engage, that's up to you. But what I found in healthcare and in 25 years of practice and in 20 years of consulting business owners as a business coach, which is also what I do, I will tell you that it's either hard easy or easy hard. We either learn the material, make some hard changes, get rid of the gluten, the wheat, the sensitive foods in your closet that are causing inflammation in everybody, whether you're acutely aware of it or not. I'm going to bring this to your attention. Or it's easy hard, meaning it's easy to eat a bunch of crap when you're younger and your body can handle it, but then it's hard later when you're living your final years in a hospital bed and you're no longer vibrant and healthy. I do corporate health talks, corporate wellness programs. I teach chiropractors and doctors how to do corporate wellness. And one of the things I ask my audiences on a routine basis is, who wants to live to 94? You'd be amazed. Typically, it's about a third of the room that says, yes, I want to live to 94. 2/3 of the room says, maybe, or my favorite word, depends. I'll say, what do you mean? Well, it just depends on my quality of life. Okay, so you don't want to live long. No, I mean, maybe. It just depends on what's my quality of life. To which I always say, well, that depends on what you do now. And that, my friends, is going to be my parting words. What are you going to do now? After listening to Mindy's interview, after hearing some of the resources from the book, the science that she quoted, I think, is genius. Get a chance to read the book, but what are you going to do now? Make a list of a couple things you want to do. And if one of them includes fasting, well, again, that means you're just not doing something you're not eating. If you take 30 minutes for lunch, you just got 30 minutes back. If it's a 45-minute dinner break, you got 45 minutes back. Look, the mental clarity that will come when you choose to do this will blow you away. The immune response and positive increase is huge. The fat burning that will go on in your body is monumental. The stem cell production, the decrease in inflammatory processes, the joint stiffness probably that you have been feeling will start to go away. It's amazing when you include this as part of your health routine. And again, I've got resources to rock and rollers. I've got people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've got best-selling authors. I've got world-class PhDs, world champions in many different sports. And I'm going to bring each of them to you. And then I'll do a podcast or two like this afterwards where I really break it down, chunk it down into a more bite-size material and some actionable steps that you can do. One of the last things Mindy talked about was how wheat destroys the gut. Whether you feel it and it's affecting you or you don't feel it, the same thing is happening. Wheat is really starting to destroy a lot of what we have going on in our society from an inflammatory process. There are other foods and other places and non-GMOs that you need to start looking into. And we're going to review some research articles. I'll go through some materials, and hopefully I'll even get some pro athletes on here to share with you firsthand what they were doing first. And then, as I've always taught wellness doctors, athletes do it first. They win gold medals first. They win world championships first. And then somebody goes, hey, everybody seems to be doing these ice baths. We should do a study. Hey, what the research showed was this. Could it possibly be that this is the outcome? And years later, Science will publish a study on something the athletes knew in practice on a routine basis. Well, what I want to do is shorten the gap. If I have athletes doing things that are absolute hacks for performance and for energy, I'm going to bring it to you on this show. And then you'll see in a couple of years, they'll be writing journal articles about the things that my athletes are doing, not because I told them, not because I showed them, but because I am the student. I'm learning from people in my practice on a consistent basis. I'm learning from my clients who are business owners. And I'll be sharing those business principles and practices here, those health hacks here. I'm going to share the people right here. And what I want you to do is create an action step beyond the podcast, how you can do things better for yourself and for your family. This is why we call it Grow with Glow. I want you to grow financially. I want you to grow in your health. I want you to grow in your mindset. I want you to decrease your stress, increase your happiness. And so Grow with Glow really is going to be about natural health, which I think is a good foundation for success above that. And if you have health, then you have 1,000 wishes and dreams. If you do not have health, you have one wish, and that is always to get health. So it's appropriate that we started with Dr. Mindy Pelz, chiropractor from Northern California, phenomenal tennis player in college, absolute beacon of light. We're going to drop some things on our Instagram, Dr. Glow DC, from Mindy at a live talk she gave that was not in the interview. Some live cuts and edits that I know will help you out because it's additional information we didn't have time to cover in the podcast. So go to my Instagram and check that out at Dr. Glow DC. But what I will also be doing is sharing with you some of the shortcuts that I think are really important to just kind of help you manifest the goals and the dreams that you have. So let's keep that number at 1,000 goals as opposed to one, because when you lose your health, the only thing you can think about is getting your health back. Look, this isn't anecdotal. It is truly about health and wellness. I want to grow your influence, your leadership capabilities. I'm going to help you grow in your business. And whoever I interview, that'll be the topic we talk about. So it'll be diverse. It's going to jump around. We just had to. We had to start with this topic because ultimately, if you follow what she says, you'll get more energy. When you get more energy, you're more efficient. You'll get more done. You're more productive. And then we can really start having these lofty goals, these big dreams, what we call the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goal, as my friend Mark Victor Hansen used to say. And I'll be bringing this information to you at no cost. I would just love some of your support. 5-star reviews on iTunes, clicks and shares, positive comments always help out. And if you enjoy Mindy, do the same for her. It's funny to hear her talk about her critics, and you could tell she's a sensitive being. She didn't like that people would say bad things about the book. She didn't like that people didn't value what she knows has created miracles. So be a positive force. It's what we call a freemium. We're going to give you this for free, but the freemium is do something nice for the people who brought you the information. So please support Mindy Pelz. Check out her book, Fast Like a Girl. The book she's working on is Eat Like a Girl. And if you have daughters, what a cool thing to give them the self-esteem and the tools to be healthy. Cheers, everyone. I will see you next time on Grow with Glow. My name is Dr. Brad Glowacki. I'm happy to be your host.